I got breast implants, and I remember waking up from surgery just bawling my eyes out crying because I felt like nothing I do is going to make me happy. I got shredded. I got an award for how good my body looked. I got implants, and I was so empty.
Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome back to another episode of Deja Blu. My favorite thing to do right now is to make podcasts for many reasons. One, I get to interview incredible, brilliant friends of mine that are doing miraculous things in the world and are activating beautiful codes of wisdom to share with the masses. And I also get to sit under a cherry blossom tree with a little hanging mushroom in 2 gold hands, which is really exciting. This is a part of my house, and this is something I get to do for my job. So an extension of my job, my joy of being today is being able to interview a dear sister to my heart, somebody that has woven with me in many planes of existence, not just the 3D, but the 5D and beyond. We worked together for 8 weeks. We did a coaching package together and did some one-on-one work. And activations and empowerment. So we've gone to the depths of our consciousness with each other and held each other in support through the solid pillars of sisterhood. Also, this woman is such a boss babe. And what I mean by that is she runs multiple businesses which are doing so well and really making an impact for the consciousness of the planet. She is also a vegan advocate and even has vegan tattooed on her booty. We'll talk about that in a moment. As a statement piece of compassion for all sentient life on this planet, which is something that's really dear to my heart too. She is also a public figure, as well as being a bodybuilder, now moved into more of empowerment through our physical vessels and empowering individuals to really live an empowered life just on not only on the physical, but also mentally and spiritually also. And with that, all encapsulated in that, she's a dear sister of mine, and she comes over to my house for movie nights, and we're supporting each other, and just the general theme of our friendship has just been supporting each other's fire to stay alive and to tending to each other's flames. And truly, this is what sisterhood really means to me. It's just such an important piece of sisterhood, is like genuinely wanting what's best for each other. And in all of addition to that, she's also a coach and a mentor, and she guides specifically other women, but other people into their empowerment and into finding their full fuck yes life and rocking it from the inside out. And so I wanted to bring you on the podcast today because you get to highlight your voice and your wisdom and bring you here on the platform of Deja Blu podcast. So everybody, we have Bianca Morales on the podcast. Hi, beautiful.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Thank you for that sick intro.
It's my favorite part of the podcast. It's just like I visualize me just like blowing smoke, like you're like, oh, I'm getting bigger and bigger and all puffed up because I just like blasting you with a wave of love at the beginning of the podcast. So you came over the other day. We did a movie night.
Yeah.
And we sat down in the seats, and then the microphones were already here. So we started doing like a little bit of a practice
little pre-podcast
yeah, pre-podcast warm-up, and now this is the real deal. But we started tapping into some really beautiful topics, and there's just something that I want to start with, which, well, first and foremost, actually, I want to create the frame around what's got you to this point. You are somebody that is in the public eye on social media and through YouTube and through many other platforms. You have spoken, been on the panel for big speaking events and traveled the world doing many of these things. You're seen predominantly for your physical appearance online. And you've also been a female bodybuilder. And now it feels like you are walking this walk of, yes, the physical body is important. Yes, this is the temple of our soul. And there is a soul, and there is a deeper level of beauty that is born from the riches of our internal world as opposed to necessarily just being our physical body. So I would love to hear a little bit about your journey from going from, modeling and bodybuilding, then moving into a deeper level of mysticism around spirituality. So if you'd like to share just a little context for us.
Yeah, it's definitely very present for me because only a little over 4 weeks ago, I had my breast implants removed. So this, exactly what you're sharing, this transition into going deeper into myself and authentic love for who I am beyond my physical form, which is what people have known me to present primarily up until now. It's just been very present for me. So I suppose, let me take it back to when I started bodybuilding. That was around 2013. And I originally got into it because I just really admired strong women with muscles. I really just wanted to be strong and badass. And so I started working out. I got a coach. I started training for shows. And I really loved the power in being able to transform your body by eating well and moving your body. And at the same time, there can be a really dark path that you can take when you start to change your body, because you can get influenced by what the media or the culture, in my case, bodybuilding culture. For some women, it's model culture, right? It varies. The beauty standard really kind of varies all over the place. For me, it was bodybuilding culture, and it was, this is what you're supposed to look like. You have to get this small. You need to have breast implants because as you train, you lose your body fat and then you don't have much of it, like your chest gets smaller. And I was really heavily influenced by that. And it actually took me down a dark path. But that dark path was what opened the doors to my journey of enlightenment. I actually, after competing, the last show that I competed in, I got second place. I was so stoked. I was shredded. I had a trophy. I had everything that I wanted. And then a week after that show, I got breast implants. And I remember waking up from surgery, just bawling my eyes out, crying, because my soul knew that it was not really aligned with me. And it was a choice that I made out of that societal beauty standard influence. And so I tried to own it because I thought, what am I going to do now? I have these things in my body. I need to just own it. And I really tried to own it, but I actually fell into a really dark place at that time. And my mental health was so fragile. I was suicidal. I even called suicide hotline one day because I was at my wit's end I felt like nothing I do is going to make me happy. I got shredded. I got an award for how good my body looked. I got implants. I had a good job at the time. I was working a 9-to-5 in a marketing company. I had a good position and I was so empty. And I remember just breaking down one day and I thought about one of my friends who actually became a yoga teacher and traveled to India, and she was posting her journey. And I thought maybe she could help me. I don't know why she came to my field. I reached out to her. She recommended I read A Path with Heart by Jack Kornfield. And that book goes deep into meditation and how your spiritual path can actually be a journey of uncovering trauma. And so that was where my journey started, of realizing that there's so much more to this life than just how hot you are and how pretty you get and how much plastic surgery you get. None of that is going to actually satisfy you. And that led me, I went vegan. I really just started to change my lifestyle. And that was in 2014. So fast forward to now, or actually even before now, I did an ayahuasca ceremony in 2019. And that was when things went from, okay, I'm growing on my spiritual path, to I had this acceleration. And Aya showed me that I did not need my implants anymore. And I needed to take them out. And I was really scared because I thought, I've built this image on my social media. People think of me as this girl. I'm I make money off of the way that my body looks. I was so attached to that beauty that I had known for several years. And it took me 2 years of contemplating until just recently. This year, I was like, I have to do it. And I did it, and I had them taken out, and taking them out has been so empowering. It's completely changed my perception of beauty. It's just fine-tuned my perception of beauty even more so. And it's allowed me to really see deeper into myself, and not just myself, but other people now, beyond that artificial beauty. And that's currently where I'm at right now. Of course, so much happened in between there, but it's been quite a journey.
There's so many pieces here within what you just shared that I want to unpack. But this really puts emphasis on the archetype of artificial glamour to authentic beauty.
Yeah.
And going from, okay, well, I will feel empowered when this, and this is all, in place. And recognizing you're the sort of person that when you put your mind to it, you achieve it. Like there's really not much that you can't achieve once your mind is set on it. That's really just adamant about across your businesses and across everything that you've been creating. And simultaneously recognizing that it feels like this illusion that is pumped into the collective consciousness through the magazine covers when you're at the grocery checkout. And it's like, get this body in 6 weeks, and always talking about people's celebrities' bodies and their weight, and either they're too fat or they're too thin. And it's bombarded into our consciousness through movies. And of course, then we see, a real pandemic of women hating their bodies.
Yeah.
And whether it's, getting to the goals physically, then realizing, but I feel numb, or actually feeling like we don't love our bodies at all, and then feeling feeling numb in that space. I mean, there's so many different iterations of the way that we treat our bodies, but this is something that the journey that you are on is so important right now, because I believe that we always have to go through these archetypal journeys of like, thinking that like if I get this trophy and then I'll be happy. And so you are relatable now in the position of, I get it. I totally get how easy that mindset is to be infiltrated in. And you have a huge platform on social media. You have 1 million followers that are looking at content of your body and your bodybuilding. So I want to break down, there's a couple pieces. There's one you just mentioned, and then I decided to go vegan. And then what was your journey around the choice around veganism? You are in a partnership with Nimai, who has never eaten meat his whole life. And so you are known as the bodybuilding vegan couple.
Yeah, it's us.
And then also, just so you know, everybody, she has a fantastic bottom. Her heart is actually obviously the thing that we really are attracted to, and the bottom is a bonus. But on that bottom, this beautiful bottom, is the tattoo vegan.
Yeah.
So it's a very strong statement that you're putting out into the world. I'm curious now, what was your journey around deciding to completely go plant-based?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, during that dark time after I had a breast augmentation, I started reading A Path with Heart, and I started to do yoga. I started to learn about meditation. I started reading books on spirituality, and I started to just ask questions. I just started asking myself questions. Why am I doing this? Why am I so motivated to get thinner? Why was I so motivated to get breast implants? Why do I eat this way? And that just, as soon as I made that realization, there wasn't any sort of influential documentary or Instagram post that I saw. I was in my kitchen cooking chicken, and I looked at my dog and I thought, okay, I love this animal. I eat this animal. This doesn't make any sense. And I stopped and I started to do research on vegetarianism, because I didn't even know what veganism was. I had no idea. I'd never heard about it. Started watching videos online and doing more research, and I thought, this makes the most sense and it feels the most aligned. And because I was on that journey of coming into alignment, it was like I couldn't lie to myself anymore. There was no way I literally had like cooked that chicken, put it on a plate, and then just sat there and stared at it while my dog was staring at me.
Yeah.
And I was like, this doesn't feel aligned anymore. And I started to just commit to only doing things that felt like they were aligned with my soul and deep and truthful to who I was. And so going vegan was a part of that journey. And I went vegan overnight. I know a lot of people kind of phase out products, but I went vegan that day. I never looked back, and I started sharing it online because I realized I went online to see, let me find some other vegan Instagrammers to follow. There were hardly any. There were just, people weren't talking about it as much. So I thought, okay, I'm going to be that person because I love fitness. I love working out, and I don't see any fit vegan strong women. So I'm just going to become that. And that's what I did. And then 2 years into being vegan, I thought it would be hilarious if I could say, kiss my vegan ass, and I had a vegan tattoo on there. And so I went and I got this tattoo while I was on a road trip with a girlfriend. And then I became the girl of the vegan tattoo. Yeah. And that just became my thing.
I do really appreciate, the vegan ass like component of it, because there is such a strong myth of, vegans are weak and don't have muscles and don't get enough protein. And there are vegans that are like that. Yeah, of course.
And there are people who eat meat that are weak and also consider themselves hippies. It goes both ways, right?
100%.
And I realized that as people started to tell me that, oh, you represent sexy vegans, like veganism is sexy, like you can be vegan and strong. And I thought, oh, okay, I'm gonna just keep on representing that. And my tattoo kind of became a representation of that, alongside me breaking the stereotype of, if a woman is proud of her body and shows her body in the way that a man does, then she's immediately categorized as a slut. And that a slut isn't even a bad word, that it's even a bad thing, because there's nothing wrong with, I know we've had conversations about like the sacred slut, right? Yeah. It's not even I don't even think it's a bad thing to be called a slut, but to be thought of as less than because I show my body, when there's plenty of men on Instagram who take completely shirtless pictures, nipples exposed, their content.
Not the nipple!
Yeah, like their nipples are allowed, right? So it kind of, those two things kind of became intertwined. You can be plant-based and fit and strong and love your body, and you're also allowed to be a woman who loves her body and is proud of that and not shameful of it. So those things kind of intertwined on my journey of sharing my life online.
And that's, I think, why your presence is so powerful, because the pattern interrupt of the statement of, this is my vegan baby and I'm strong and I'm empowered and I'm sexy, and that is essentially, it reminds me of the quote from Tony Cade Bambara from the Black Panthers that says, it's the artist's responsibility to make the revolution irresistible. I think that also applies to, many different areas. You are also an artist. However, I think what you create is also art, in the sense of, like, it can be irresistible, it can be empowering, it can be strong, it can be wise, it can be clear, it can be can look like this through veganism. And that's the pattern interrupt that society needs to break out of the dogma around the relationship around veganism and how veganism equals weak and not strong. And that's what you and Nimai do so beautifully. And that's why I believe part of the reason why your platforms are so popular and powerful is because what you represent. Now, I want to also go into and unpack the piece around the slut shaming and how confronting the female naked body is. And I've done a podcast with Reverend Brianna Lynn on this very piece of the social and political power of the naked female body. It's the most revered thing on the planet. It's also the most feared thing on the planet simultaneously at the same time. And so there's a lot of power in it. And also there's a lot of slut shaming and projections. And I can't even imagine how, because being a public figure and being a representation of an empowerment in the female body, wearing, lingerie on your shots and twerking. You've been known as like the twerk queen.
I do love to twerk.
She's amazing at it. And I'm just curious how you alchemize this level of adoration and simultaneously projections of slut shaming, and how has that journey been for you with processing it? Because I still, as somebody with a platform, I put myself out in a certain way. My archetype isn't in this moment necessarily like all about like physical empowerment. However, I also have that side of me that still wants to come out in a bigger way.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm inspired by your presence, because there's a level of claiming that is not swayed by external perspective. And I'm curious about your journey around that.
Yeah. So it's been a roller coaster of a journey, because of course, when you start receiving criticism that validates those fears, it's really scary and you start to question yourself. And so I remember the first time I started getting mean comments on YouTube or on Instagram and getting slut shamed for showing my body. And it was actually a little shocking for me, because my intention was purely in adoration for my body. It was, I've worked hard for my body. I work out. I'm proud to be vegan and strong. I also just love the sensual energy that comes with the feminine. And I started expressing that. And I actually had always been expressing it. It was not like a new thing for me, but now I started expressing it online. And I started receiving comments and I was just almost taken back. Like, oh, this is how people respond to this. And it was hard. I definitely remember like the first time I got a really mean comment, like breaking down and crying. And then as I continued on my own personal path and understanding that what people see, we can't control how people are going to perceive our message. We can't control if you decide to wear an outfit that makes you feel really good and somebody sees that and they project their insecurities onto it, or their fears, or their own sense of shame around their sexuality or their connection with the feminine. It's not my responsibility. And actually, being that trigger might activate them down a path. And I actually get messages all the time from women who tell me, they'll send me these long DMs and they'll say, you know, I used to always look at your page and I didn't follow you because I thought all of these slut shaming thoughts. I used to get so angry and jealous. And then I started asking myself why I felt that way. And I realized it's because I wanted to feel that empowered in my body, and you sparked that journey. And now I love my body and I'm empowered, and I went and started an OnlyFans, and I'm dancing every day, and I'm taking dance classes and dressing how I truly want to feel feminine. And I want to say thank you for that. And it all started with them seeing me and going, oh, slut.
Right.
You know, so sometimes as I've gone through this journey, I realized that just staying empowered in whatever it is that I feel, again, is aligned with my expression in that moment, in that time. If somebody has a negative reaction to it, that could be a good thing for them, but it's not my responsibility. So I'm allowed to just honor where they're at in their journey and honor where I'm at in my journey, which is I want to express myself today. I want to pole dance. I want to take videos of me pole dancing. I feel like twerking. I want to activate my sacral chakra through movement and sharing that online. And if somebody doesn't like it, then they can choose to scroll past me. They can block me. They can unfollow me. I don't really care because they're on their journey, and I just am going to send them love and hope that they at some point can find the juicy goodness in connecting to that feminine, because it feels so amazing when you do.
So now when someone writes, ugh, such a slut, how could you do this? What would your parents think of you? How does that land for you now?
Yeah. I kind of giggle about it, you know. Sometimes I like to just jokingly respond to people if I'm in the mood to banter. Yeah. If someone says, you know, leaves a comment and they say, "Oh, you're such a slut," I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, daddy, call me a slut." Like I like to just like, you know, mess with them a little bit, but it really just doesn't affect me. It's almost like if somebody was to tell me that I have pointy elbows, I wouldn't find that offensive, right? I'd be like, yeah, I do have pointy elbows. Thanks for pointing that out. You know, if they say, oh, you're seeking attention through your post, I know that that's not true. So that doesn't affect me. That's like them telling me that, you know, my hair is on fire. I'm like, it's not, but and that's what you see.
But it is lit.
But it is lit. Exactly. So that's when somebody says something about me and I know that it's not true, it doesn't affect me because they may as well be telling me that, you know, they could be telling me that I'm 6 feet tall. I'm like, okay, I know that's not true, right? But if they tell me something that I do agree with, like you're a slut, I don't think being a slut is a bad thing. There's a lot of empowerment in honoring your sexuality, male or female, but as a woman, it feels really good to be empowered in that. So when someone calls me a slut, I'm like, yeah, and?
So you've changed your relationship with the word slut and what it represents. So what does the word slut represent to you?
For me, the word slut represents empowerment and having an unapologetic perception of your sexuality. And that is different for everybody. So for some people, they enjoy having a lot of sexual experiences. And for some people, they only want to have sexual experiences with one person who they're in a, commitment with. And for some people, their sexuality is just about them and themselves, and they don't want to connect with other people. And so it's individual. So for me, it just means to be empowered in that and really, really owning that.
See, that's why, language is subjective to the perspective we place on it. And from my conditioning and my programming in my childhood and my schooling, slut was
bad,
a negative term for somebody that is loose in their sexual energy, in a broad brushstroke.
Yeah.
And so then how I preconceive the word slut then creates a negative connotation and reaction within my being.
Yep.
However, it's so beautiful and empowering for you to see the word slut and to shift your relationship with it so that whenever that energy is presented, it's alchemized through, thank you. Your empowerment that is locked in within your own being and your relationship with your why and why you do what you do and how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
Outweighs the weight of the projection, which then alchemizes it into fuel to continue on your path.
Exactly. And it all starts with just asking yourself questions. Why does this word make me feel this way? Where did I learn this? Why did I learn that it was connected to this meaning? Right? A book that has also really changed my life is, well, I have a bunch of them, but one, I'll say The Beauty Myth by Naomi Wolf. Just when you start questioning how women are perceived, you completely change the game and how you operate as a feminine energy, because you start to realize that a lot of what people say, if people say that you're a slut or that a slut is a bad word or that anything that feels negative, you learn where that came from. And you learn that it was all created to control. It was all of those negative terms and shaming women for their sexuality and shaming women for the way that they dress or for wanting to be powerful or wanting to work. As we could keep going down the list. All of those negative connotations were created just to keep women in a box when we're actually these powerful, multifaceted beings that the world needs in order to function, right?
Yeah, it reminds me of Brianna and Azria and Zahara. We have like a little WhatsApp group and we all chat with each other. We have like a sister accountability. And one of the archetypes that we talk about and that we like tapping into is we call the sacred slut. And she, the energy feels like to me is, I'm going to go activate my sacred slut. I'm going to go to the lingerie store and I'm going to go get something that makes me feel really good. It fits well. It's empowering. And then I am going to go and take a dance class with Bianca, which actually happened, by the way. And we're going to do a slutty dance that with heels on, with bouncing our booty and all the things, slapping our thighs and the whole 9 yards, and activate this energy. And what it does, this sacred slut archetype, it creates a very empowering, strong feeling of honoring the being a woman.
Exactly.
And after, because Azri and I went and did a dance class with you.
Yeah.
And it was so fun. We laughed. We were serious. We tapped into our child and the sacred slut all combined in the same piece. We had a large mirror in the room. We wore shorts and some heels, and you guided us through a choreographed dance routine that was something that we could bring back to our lovers. I didn't actually end up doing it. I didn't feel super confident.
We'll keep practicing.
Yeah. They maybe need 2 or 3 more classes. And to come back to our lovers and to have this available in our tool belt. And it's something that you are a stand for in what you do in your work. And after working with you, I also realized the depth of the mysticism of your soul and the medicine that you have as somebody that is not afraid to go into the darkness, to reclaim your power, and then to claim it in a really big way. And when you can present yourself the way that you do online, and then not to let those bullets that get fired at you to permeate your being, but actually ricochet off because of the narrative you've created within yourself, this is the juice here. It's not necessarily about, oh, well, now I must express myself online the way that you do. It's about the empowerment that you are safekeeping and harnessing, and then wanting to gift and highlight within others through their own unique expression, whether that's just this, or like, oh, and this is a lot for me.
Yeah.
Or if it's really like full lingerie and this is my presentation, it's more so the energy of I feel empowered in my own body. I feel empowered in my own sexuality. I'm going to bring this to the table.
Exactly. It's all about energy. When a woman is empowered in her sacred slut energy, that energy is so powerful, and it scares a lot of people who have yet to accept it or fear it. And so that's where the slut shaming comes. And that's where the mean comments come, or the fear of what that power is capable of. And so as more women come into remembrance and understanding of what that power can do for them, just in their own life, I get to see it with my coaching, working with women one-on-one, and just opening up conversations about that sensual confidence. And it doesn't even necessarily mean sex. It doesn't even mean sex. Like you said, it could be shopping for lingerie. It could be dancing. It could be taking a pole dance class, or buying yourself some adornment that makes you just feel really special. It could be using your voice more. It's going to come out different for everybody. It might be becoming more creative in the arts, right? That is life-changing. And it's something that's so needed because it's been feared for so long, and we've gone through so many generations being told that it's shameful and that it's dirty and that it needs to be rejected, or that it makes a woman unlovable, or it makes a woman unwifeable, right? It's so important to continue to, have a ripple effect and it continue to inspire more and more women to tap into that energy so that we can take our power back, because we're essentially doing collective healing through doing that.
That is such a huge piece of the power being from some should or societal expectation or historical events that have led us to this point where the power is placed in the hands of others. So ultimately, it's really just a scan. We can go through the chakra system.
Yeah.
Where does my voice lie in the power of others? Where does my sexual energy? This is really what we're putting a focus on around this podcast. And it's because it's the archetype that you bring as a pattern interrupt is the sexual energy, but it is no less sacred than the third eye of being able to see beyond the illusions, or a connection to something greater through a crown chakra, or a heart chakra, of forgiveness for all sentient life and all beings in our lives that have created some sort of lesson within our being. And it's as sacred and as welcome as the conversation. It's actually the same chakra, the conversation around our creativity.
Exactly.
And so that also reminds me of some of the videos or the pictures that I've seen of you painting, you're a painter and you create beautiful pieces of artwork on really large canvases of women's faces with all these bright, zesty colors. And it's so beautiful to witness the freedom which you give yourself permission, which is, for me, it shows direct correlation between your sensual activation, which is the same chakra, the sacral chakra. And you actually paint a lot of like the reds and the oranges, which is also the
colors.
sacral colors. And you paint pictures of you in your underwear painting these beautiful large paintings. And I'm just thinking, if this could not yell sacral chakra activation anymore, this one photo. And it is so, from the lens of being inspired by it, it's empowering. And I'm curious, how do you find your relationship and the direct connection between your sexuality, sensuality, and your creativity?
I mean, they're completely correlated. I often tell my clients, if they feel a lot of fear and disconnect from their sensuality and it feels too overwhelming for them to dive into, I say, let's start with your creative energy. It can be as simple as coloring in a coloring book, and then we can see if you want to play with paint or music or doing your hair, your makeup, or whatever medium speaks to you, because sexual energy and creative energy are directly correlated, both being from the sacral chakra, right? And it's so powerful when we think about it, which is ironic why there's so much shame around sensuality, because it is the place where we literally create life, and where human life comes from is right here, right? And so for me, sometimes it goes back and forth. Sometimes I feel like I'm a little disconnected from my creativity and more connected to my sensuality. And then it helps me balance it out by going back and forth, tapping into the other one so that I can do my best to kind of keep them both always flowing. Sometimes I feel like I have a block around painting. And so I switch into dance, because dance is another medium of art. But in doing that, I'm moving my body. I start loving my body. I watch videos. I'm like, I'm pretty hot. And I start to feel empowered in my sensuality through my creativity again. I think that dance is something that's off limits for everybody. It is for everybody. It's something that you don't have to be an amazing dancer or somebody who took dance classes. It is something that anybody can tap into. And in doing that, you're activating your sensuality and your creativity. And there's so much empowerment that comes from dance. I mean, I know me and you, we always connect. We always connect on the dance floor every event.
Because everyone's like small talk. I can't hear shit of what's going on in the party. And I think it's just too loud for me, so I can't pick up on any words. And every time we are in the same space that is a gathering, you are always on the dance floor, and all I have to do is lock eyes with you, and then just we get on like the same wave, and then for the rest of the night we don't even need to necessarily exchange any words, but so much words are exchanged in those moments of just connecting through dance. And I really appreciate, because I love dancing, I really appreciate that level of connection that doesn't require small talk or like, how you doing? You okay? I can feel you.
Yeah, exactly. Dance is such an amazing way to move that sacral energy through your body and activate your sensuality or your creativity, or both. For me, it feels like both. For some people, it might be one or the other more heavily. And I recommend that everybody dances at least 5 minutes a day. More if you can. Even if it's just like being goofy, it doesn't always have to be like this big, sexy, like it can be goofy and fun and just, and it really does activate that.
100%. I recently read that in shamanic traditions, if somebody comes to the shaman and is completely disconnected with their purpose, feeling really lost, has depression, usually the first question that the shaman will ask is, when was the last time you danced? Because it connects you with the pulse of life. Yeah. It connects with something bigger than ourselves, and it allows the energy to move through. And I think that that's also what a sensual sexual energy does is it creates a connection to the Kundalini. It creates a connection to the divinity of our expression. And simultaneously, it connects us to our power. And that's the very reason why it's been so suppressed for so long. And simultaneously, why what it is that you are a stand for is so important. And it takes a strong shell, a strong inner riches to be able to withstand the storm. But just like the tree, the roots, once the roots go really deep into the soil, when the wind blows, the tree ain't going to be uprooted. Like, you're on your path. Like, this is unwavering and unshakable. Your success is inevitable. Success being you aligning with your mission and sharing it with others. And it's just, by me knowing you has been an invitation into that side of me, because, being born and raised in the upbringing that I did, and being, I would have like culinary lessons of not culinary, how to hold my knife and fork properly.
Yeah, etiquette.
Etiquette, that's it. Etiquette lessons, and the way that with my upbringing with the British boarding school, it was all about training about be a lady. This is how ladies hold themselves, and this is how you. Even if my finger would slip too far down my fork, and it would be touching the metal part of the top of the fork, not just the handle, then slap on the wrist, bring your finger back, right? Like, this was very,
Yeah.
And so sexuality and sensuality was something that you keep with your partner. You don't let it leave the bedroom, and you don't talk about it. And this is just something that we say hush hush.
Yeah.
And now coming to LA, which of course is a very liberated place on the planet compared to most places, one of the most liberated places on the planet around self-expression, I am now in your presence confronted with all the areas in my life that I am not in that expression. And yet there's a part of me that loves it.
Yeah.
Full Scorpio mama, like, let's go.
Yeah.
And so there's this your presence alone highlights the gap in which I wish to transverse to come home to myself. Now, that gap can be perceived in two ways. That gap can be very confronting in the sense of, oh, that makes me feel really uncomfortable. And so I'm triggered. And then it's so easy to project that trigger onto you.
Right.
Or that gap can represent, thank you for being my teacher. Thank you for showing me where I am not meeting myself and my own empowerment. And that will look something different to you, but it's the energy that I want to access and activate, which will then trickle into my paintings, which will then trickle into the podcast, that will then trickle into my relationships, that will then trickle into the way that I make food. Like, it really does touch all areas of our life. And so I just want to acknowledge you publicly for my gratitude for you being a stand, not just for yourself, but for all women and men around, and however we identify ourselves, for reminding us the importance of reconnecting to that fire that lies within all of us, no matter what reproductive organs we have. And
exactly.
How this podcast can be an invitation for us to meet ourselves in a deeper way and ask ourselves sometimes the uncomfortable question of, where am I not fully tapping into this expression within my own being? If there was something that you would share, like, imagine this microphone is connected to the international network where it goes on every radio station, every TV show across the world. Right now it's broadcasting, and you have like a 30-second message to share with the world.
Oh, pressure.
Yeah. No pressure.
No pressure.
But this is a big fucking deal.
Yep.
What would your message be?
I would want to share that you do not need to receive permission from anybody but yourself to tap into that deep, juicy, strong energy that's inside of you. Because so often we are taught that sensuality, the way you mentioned it, needs to be boxed away and it's only for our partner. It's not, it's amazing to share it with a partner, but it's really for you. It's inside of you. It's for you. It's full of self-love, self-expression. It comes out through your art. It comes out through cooking, through dance, through music, through the way that you speak. And you don't need to wait for permission from anybody. And I hope to continue to express myself and inspire or plant seeds in other people, just giving themselves permission to get in touch with that.
Usually in every podcast, I get shivers all over my body, and Chelsea and I have like a joke around it because every time, like, she's like, at least once in the podcast you go like this. When you started speaking, I was like, got the shivers. I call it the truth bumps, where my body's like, oh, like when you said you don't need permission from anybody to express yourself the way that you do, like, it just hit me in a whole new way for that part of my being that you know, it's just getting much smaller and smaller, but the validation from my lover, or the validation from my parents, or the validation from my family, like these pieces of like still being in the maiden archetype of outwardly seeking that permission, and just you saying that landed in such an embodied way of just coming back to my altar in my morning practice and saying, hey, what would this look like to do this for myself? And part of the Full Essence program that Reggie and I run, one of the growth work is to have a date night with oneself. Yeah. And it's no one else is involved, and it's like sexy lingerie or whatever it is that makes you feel empowered, and run in the bath with rose petals, like the ultimate date night with yourself. So that actually could be like an amazing cue for the people that are listening. Could be an opportunity to create a date night for yourself. And would you have anything to add to that of what a date night could look like? Or? Yeah,
I actually have my embodied babe clients do the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Perfect. It's a great exercise.
It's amazing because we often, again, we think that we need to box away that sensuality, and we only let it out of the box when it's asked from us, because we are here to serve others. But really, you can give that to yourself, and whatever makes you feel in touch with that sensuality and that power is going to be unique to you. It doesn't need to look the way that it looks like for me, the way that it looks like for you, the way that it looks like for somebody else that they might look up to. What does it feel like for you? You might have to try some different things on and see, actually, I hate lingerie. I feel better when I'm just butt naked. Like, go for it. You know? Right. Maybe you just feel really empowered when you're completely bare, or when you adorn yourself with makeup and jewelry, whatever that expression is. It's going to be unique to you. And that's what makes it so special and so intimate.
So good. All right. So anyone listening to this is an opportunity for date night with yourself. And some ideas could be, similar what you shared, as well as running a bath and rose petals and your favorite food.
Dance party with yourself.
What was that?
Dance party.
Solo dance party, self-pleasure practice, some mirror work. Whatever it is that creates that feel-good feeling and that turn-on feeling for yourself, and let that energy, instead of it leaking out towards it being for somebody else, allowing it to just be powered by your own energy, doubled. Delicious. As we close out, I would love to hear a little bit more about any offerings that you have going on, or anyone that can, we'll put all of the information in the show notes, but anything that you've got alive. You mentioned about your Boss Babe program. Yeah.
So with Embodied Babe, I offer one-on-one coaching.
Embodied Babe, sorry.
And then in January, I'm going to be launching a new offer that's going to be a course specifically on manifestation and tapping into your power as a creator. I'm really excited to release that. Yeah, that's brand new. And then I got tons of offers. I have a fitness app as well, or if people are interested in going plant-based and they don't know where to start, they need recipes, they need guidance for their training, I'll give you all the links to put there.
Perfect. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, we'll get all of the links in the description, so that whoever it is that's tuning in can continue to follow you and be on your journey, and may Bianca's presence empower you into that full fuck yes for yourself. And I've definitely got some little notes that I'm gonna save for later that I can tap into, because I definitely feeling inspired and excited about what it means to be me and how much more of exploration around what it means to have this physical body and this energy that runs through my being. So I feel very empowered and excited. And thank you so much for coming onto the podcast today.
Of course. Thanks for having
fun.
me. Yay.
So good. All righty, beautiful humans. Well, thanks for tuning into another episode of Deja Blu. If you resonate with this podcast and you feel like this could be something that would be powerful to share, then please go ahead and share it on your social platforms. It's really supportive for the podcast to be able to put more branches out than what we can reach with just our own individual platforms. Please tag Bianca and myself. Your Instagram handle is
Bianca Taylor M.
What's the M for?
Money. Just kidding. It's
right,
for
your last name.
It's for my real last name.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, Bianca Taylor M. And we can continue to share this platform far and wide to empower all of those that could really, really use with hearing this message. So sending you so much love, and may you have the most delicious, yummy, sweet date with yourself. Can't wait to hear about it in the comments if you feel called to share, to empower and inspire any others that are browsing through the comments. And with that being said, I'll see you next time. Bless, bless.